to find in your own worlds who you are, as that last video was talking about. Look at your job. What do you do? Are you good at it? I assume a lot of you are. Okay, we can't really write about your job in that big scopy kind of thing, although I suppose there are stories there, so that wasn't a rule. I'm just saying it's just harder to do. It's more difficult. Nothing wrong with that. Try it. But for me, and for a lot of writers, because story is about people. Fiction is about people. Fiction is about characters. What we always tend to do is look for the personal interactions inside of a job. And some of the best stories will come out of that kind of thing. There are movies about corporations. You've seen movies about lots of corporations. But some of the best movies, the corporation is just the scenery. The movie is about the connections and the characters and the stuff that's going on and the cool stuff. Well, you, if you're in a corporate job or any kind of job, are in interactions with people. There's just no way around it. So, what's going on? When I was a bartender, a lot of years of bartending, because it was just easy, I often wrote stories set in bars. I still do. I mean, I still do. But what do I write about? Oh, I got to pour this drink here and pour this drink over here. Of course not. I write about the person sitting across the bar. That's the interesting story. That's the interesting, what goes on in bars, what kind of family is in a bar, what kind of deals are in a bar, you know, who's coming and going, what kind of relationships do they have. You get down into that interpersonal. So what I'm trying to relay here, and probably not very effectively, but let me be a little clearer, is that take what you know and then go down into the personal part of it. Not necessarily maybe your personal part, like Poker Boy is just me out there in wish fulfillment fantasy land, but go down into the interpersonal stuff, the stuff that is dealing with the people, dealing with the areas. One of the things that I always wrote about personally for me is I always thought I get lost in subdivisions. I have this thing about twisty subdivisions. I mean, I can find my way out of mountains, but find my way out of a subdivision? Not a chance. I'm just completely befuddled. To me, they all look like little jail cells, one jail cell after another. So I heard myself say that one day, way back in my writing career, and I thought, screw this. So as an architect, a master's degree in architecture, I designed a subdivision. Shopping on one side, a bar that I set a lot of stories in called the Garden Lounge on another, and this street called Bryant Street. And I just started at one end and started telling stories in every house. What was going on in every house. I still tell Bryant Street stories. I still have a series, and then I'm starting to bring some of the older stories back that I like that are Bryant Street stories. They're set on Bryant Street. Bryant Street's a very creepy place. Very creepy place. My first corporation that I had that was my corporation for my writing was called Bryant Street Inc. It still exists. So, you know, one of the aspects about that is I went to my own feelings. I felt that being in one of those homes in a subdivision would be trapped. Just trapped. In one of those subdivisions that looks like every other subdivision where all the houses are, you know, off of 3 different plans and that's it. And I'm not insulting anybody. I hope that I don't mean to be insulting because I'm not insulting. I actually wrote stories about the real people in those houses. And I just started down Bryant Street, down my little plotted thing that I did as an architect, and started writing stories, house by house by house by house. And then I would put them in a story set in the shopping center. And I had one series of stories that were in the sewers underneath the house, you know, and I had the kids doing different things, and just all the way through, I was just trying to be real for the people and yet tell their story and have a little bit of a Twilight Zone twist on it. Twilight Zone bump to it, because I like writing Twilight Zone. I figured Bryant Street was in Twilight Zone, the whole street. And so, you know, it's just kind of one of those things that I really was personal to me. So, to be original on your fiction, check in with yourself. What do you hate? What really pisses you off? What do you love? I mean, I loved bartending. I wrote stories in bars. I hate subdivisions. I don't know why. So I wrote stories in subdivisions. I love casinos and poker. So I invented Poker Boy. Again, I went to who I am. Who I am. Who are you? Instead of listening to what other people say you should write, check in with yourself and write your strengths. Write what makes you angry. Have fun with stuff. Make it up. Just make it up. Don't you wish that this would be happening over here? And write a story. Just write a story. And if it doesn't work the first time, write it again. One night, one more story here this week from my past. One night, my second wife and I, she worked as a nurse in a nursing home. And I was waiting for her to get off work. And I'm sitting on Christmas Eve in a nursing home. All the lights were down, all the decorative lights were in the hallway and everything else. And she was off doing something, and she was going to be off at about 1 a.m. in the morning. And so I was just sitting there kind of scratching in a notepad, waiting for her and kind of, doing whatever I did at that point in time. And I looked up and I thought I saw a resident in a nightgown walk out the door. Only the door wasn't open. Creeped me out. Creeped me out completely and totally. I thought I'd seen a ghost. Probably did see a ghost. Hell, I don't know. Probably my writer active imagination. I thought I saw it. I mentioned it to my wife and she said, yeah, maybe. There's ghosts around here. And then went on like nothing was going on. And I'm sitting there going, ah! That was creepy. So what did I do? I started writing stories. Nursing home stories. I have probably sold 25 stories set in nursing homes around the residents in nursing homes. It's one of my, literally, I would get nominated for awards and different stuff. Where Have All the Graveyards Gone is one of my nursing home stories. The one I was up for the Nebula for was a nursing home story. That's the kind of thing that I did a lot. Because I had an emotional reaction to something sitting in a nursing home one night. Check in with yourself. Figure out your own stuff. Figure out what you want to write about. And then go after that. Go after that. Okay? Back in a minute with an assignment.